Look, I don't know why I keep watching this show. I know it's poorly written. I know that barely any of the characters other than Dick Grayson get development. I know it's got a horrible color palette, but I can't help but just keep watching this show. Like, I even woke up one night in a cold sweat and I just decided to just make the Robin armor. Like, who does that? Titans is one of the most frustrating guilty pleasure shows I've ever seen. One minute, it'll have me jumping for joy, and then the next, it'll just have me cringing in my seat. And sometimes, it just makes me want to just jump up and scream at the sky, "Fuck Batman." Titans is the textbook definition of a mixed bag. It has so much going for it, which just makes it incredibly frustrating to watch. I think the best way to describe the main problem with the show is that it's a show with an identity crisis. Season 1 of Titans seems like it wanted to be like the Marvel Netflix shows. More specifically, Daredevil. It wanted to be gritty, dark, and grim. And, unlike those shows, instead of supplementing that grittier tone with sophisticated writing, compelling characters, and fantastic cinematography, Titans just comes across like an edgy fan film. Fuck Batman. Everything from the opening theme song to the intro just screams, "Oh yeah, this is just so edgy and cool." And it just seems like there's a quota in the writer's room to use the F word in like every episode for just no reason. It's honestly like the writers just want to use it for the sake of using it, because this isn't your childhood Teen Titans, no, this is DC's Titans where everything is all dark and gritty and edgy and cool. And a lot of this edginess can be seen in the way the characters behave. With Raven, we see that she has this inner darkness inside her that occasionally takes over and makes her freak out and kill things, as well as calling her a slut for no reason. Starfire is, well, she's supposed to be an alien princess with the ability to fly and shoot lasers, but Season 1 decides to have her forget that she's an alien and makes her a hooker, or something. The point is, the show doesn't really attempt to really make her very compelling. Even when we get to Season 2 and they introduce the Blackfire plot, the show just makes her lose her powers because, why did she lose her powers again? Hawk and Dove do get some decent development, even though their backstory comes at the very back half of Season 1 and just ruins the momentum of the story, but whatever. Hank was a victim of sexual assault as a child, which then resulted in him and his brother becoming vigilantes, Hawk and Dove. Until his brother is killed in probably one of the worst car crashes ever put to film, Hawk then goes to counseling where he meets Dawn. They fall in love and become the crime-fighting duo, Hawk and Dove. And they will go through the same relationship conflict over and over again. With Beast Boy, he just sort of joins the team because he's a loser who plays video games and like he doesn't want to hang out with the Doom Patrol anymore, so yeah. And unfortunately, he doesn't get much to do because the show's budget won't allow them to make him transform into various animals multiple times an episode. And in Season 1, when he does transform, he just becomes an absolute psychopath and kills a bunch of guards because they were threatening Rachel. Like, what the hell? He was the most sanest character at this point, and they just had him murder someone. Like, what is the point? Everybody in the show is some kind of murderer, sociopath, psychopath, just nobody in the show is a hero. Speaking of insane, let's talk about Dick Grayson, shall we? Now, I love the character of Dick Grayson from the comic books. He's just my favorite Robin. He's just so cool and charismatic and agile and suave. He's just the epitome of cool. And as I like to say, he's the persona of Spider-Man inside Batman's body. And so when I'd heard that they had cast Brenton Thwaites as Robin in Titans, I was ecstatic, because I'd recently seen him in Pirates of the Caribbean 5 where he played Henry Turner, and just, it was such a good casting choice. I was like, yep, he's gonna nail Dick Grayson. And then they released the image of the Robin suit, and again, I thought it was perfect. It was the perfect blend of comic accuracy and practicality. It just looked cool. And it was at that moment in time when I couldn't help but just get excited for Titans. It just seemed like it was gonna be great. And then came the trailer for Season 1. Fuck Batman. Did Dick Grayson just kill a bunch of people and say fuck Batman? I guess I'll have to see it in context, I guess.
Never touch your kid again, I'll fight you. Fuck Batman.
Dick Grayson in Titan Season 1 is an edgy, unnecessarily brutal character who constantly complains about how Batman has turned him into a weapon, and how he finds it hard to fight the darkness he feels within him. Except, we never really see that. Throughout the whole of season 1, we see that Dick Grayson is extremely bitter towards Batman and he blames him for all his pain. But because we haven't seen this version of Batman and Robin work together or they're falling out, it just makes this version of Dick Grayson just feel extremely out of character. I say this because in season 1 of Titans, there are multiple times where this iteration of Dick Grayson acts like the character I know and love from the comic books. Caring, calm, and cool.
Hi there. How you doing? Word on the street is you like playing baseball with bricks and cop cars. I'm Detective Dick Grayson. You want to talk about what happened?
Which just makes it all the more frustrating when I see this version of Dick Grayson stab people in the dick, beat people to what seems like their death, and lets Tony Zuko, the man responsible for the death of his parents, die. Like, what is the point? Why does he let Tony Zuko die? What does this add to your show? And this is one of the most frustrating aspects of the show. It expects you to know and love these characters from the comic books, whilst it simultaneously mischaracterizes everything you know and love about the characters from the comic books. Like, why does Dick Grayson let Tony Zuko die? If this was the Dick Grayson from the animated series or the comic books, a Dick Grayson who was trained by a morally and honest Batman, he wouldn't have let Tony Zuko die. He would have brought him to justice. But no, it just seems like the writers just wanted to reference Batman Begins because why not? But what makes Dick Grayson's season 1 arc all the more frustrating is that throughout the whole season, everyone's going, what are you gonna be? Who are you? You're not Robin anymore. What are you gonna be? And so obviously and clearly, they're building up to him becoming Nightwing. Except by the end of the season, he doesn't become Nightwing? What? What even is this show? And what makes it worse was that originally there was going to be an extra episode to season 1 that would not only have wrapped up the Trigon subplot, but Dick Grayson would also have become Nightwing. But they cut it. What even is this show? But none of this is Brenton Thwaites' fault. In fact, he's such perfect casting as Dick Grayson. I love him so much. And when the writers actually decide to write him like comic book Dick Grayson, Brenton just nails it. He truly does. He's just fantastic. And I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but the show does have its merits. Not a lot, but it has its merits. I really love the Jason Todd episode, and I think Karen Walters was a great pick to play Jason, and the dynamic that you have in that episode is great. I love how it just feels like an older brother hanging out with his younger, more annoying sibling, and I especially adore this moment here.
It's an honor to meet you.
Maybe it's because we've been deprived of Robin for so long on the big screen, but to finally see this show just adapt some of the iconic Robin imagery just hits me right in the geek spot. Oh, and I love Donna Troy. I love Donna Troy so much. Connor Leslie is just fantastic. She's a queen. I love Donna Troy just so much.
Older, smarter, prettier. You know the drill.
But as a whole, season 1 of Titans was an edgy, unfocused mess that thought it was cooler than it actually was. But at least season 2 would learn from and actually improve upon season 1's mistakes, right? Right? Titans season 2 is again another mixed bag of a season. I would say that it's better than season 1, but that's not saying much. Again, the writing is all over the place. Barely any of the characters other than Dick Grayson get actual development. And once again, the show just takes itself too damn seriously. After wrapping up the Trigon cliffhanger from season 1 in the most abrupt way and giving Raven one of the most nonsensical lines ever,
you know what they say. Genetics is destiny.
Season 2 then sets up our big bad of the season to be Deathstroke. Now, on paper, that sounds pretty great. Who doesn't love Deathstroke? The show just nails his costume, and the casting of S.A. Morales was fantastic. The dude's voice just screams Deathstroke. And oh my god, the action scenes with him are incredible. The scene where he absolutely demolishes Donna Troy, oh my god, that was just so good. I mean, look at what he did to her. Although, now I've mentioned it, he bloody does that stupid move that Arya Stark does to kill the Night King in Game of Thrones, and I hate that move so much. Now, as much as I really do like this Deathstroke, the thing that really bugs me about Deathstroke in season 2 is that his plan is just really stupid. His whole big master plan is just to break up the Titans. Really? That's your big evil plan? He doesn't want to kill Dick Grayson for manipulating and being partly responsible for his son's death. He just wants the Titans to not be a team. What? What kind of a villain plan is that? That's terrible. And also, I guess the Titans were actually a team prior to season 1, even though I'm pretty sure that season 1 doesn't establish that the Titans were a team before the one we had in current day. It also doesn't help that Deathstroke gets taken out like 10 minutes into the season 2 finale in one of like the worst edited fight scenes I've seen in a good long while. Like, ugh, that fight scene was just, not good. Like, come on, this is Deathstroke. Can you please just treat him with a little bit more respect? Like, I don't care about Cadmus brainwashing Beast Boy into killing a bunch of innocent people so that they can auction off Superboy. Like, I don't care about that. I just want to see Nightwing versus Deathstroke. Oh, now that I've mentioned Superboy, he's actually one of the bright spots of season 2. That solo episode revolving around him was genuinely fantastic, and I loved it. I really like Joshua Orpin's portrayal of Superboy, especially since this version is more childlike, like he's kind of like a baby, and I really enjoyed it. But again, like the Hawk and Dove episode in season 1, it just ruins the overall flow and momentum of the story. Now, to be fair, and credit where credit is due, Season 2 does at least attempt to develop more of the supporting cast than it did in Season 1. Donna Troy gets a decent bit of backstory with her relationship with Aqualad. I thought that dynamic was pretty sweet, although I have to say, Aqualad's death was kind of confusing. Like, aren't Atlanteans supposed to be bulletproof? And for the most part, Donna Troy is great in Season 2. But then the show just, decides to do this? What? What the hell? What the hell, show? What did you just do to my queen? What? Like, supposedly she's supposed to be coming back for season 3, but then my whole argument is, what was the point of killing her off if you're gonna bring her back in the next season? What? Anyways, poor Rachel and Gar. They essentially get nothing to do all season. I mean, the show even draws attention to the fact that Beast Boy gets nothing to do all season because they have a montage of Gar literally doing nothing. Poor Ryan Potter. Like, he's such a good pick for Beast Boy, and it just sucks that the show doesn't do anything with him because, you know, they won't allow him to
straight up into an animal. Animal? Yes, any animal.
And with Rachel/Raven, she, again, doesn't get much to do other than just have this inner darkness welling up inside her. Again. Poor Jason. Like, Jason Todd by the end of the season essentially gets abused by the team. Like, after he almost falls to his death and is on, like, the verge of suicide, apart from Rose, no one else ever really attempts to console him. Heck, even when Dick's on the roof trying to stop him from jumping, he still doesn't apologize for this. Oh, okay, now that I've mentioned it, I bloody love this moment. This scene was just so cool. Not only does it make Dick Grayson look like a badass that he rightfully is, but the way he reacts right afterwards was just so in line with comic book Dick Grayson, and I loved it.
Shit. Here.
In a lot of ways, the Dick and Jason rivalry in this season reminds me a bit of his rivalry with Damian Wayne in the comics, and I just really want to see this iteration of Red Hood versus Nightwing because I think Curran and Brenton would just nail it. I can't lie, just this one scene got me really excited for the possibility of this show's future. Like, imagine if one season they adapt Battle for the Cowl and we get Nightwing versus Red Hood, and I think that would be such a perfect story because this universe's iteration of Bruce Wayne is just old, so like, it would just be so cool and just... Okay, I need to stop myself because I'm just getting myself way too excited and I know that the show will disappoint me, so calm down. Speaking of Bruce Wayne, Ian Glenn, Jorah the Explorer himself, was just such a weird casting choice for Bruce Wayne. Especially for this show, since in season 1 it implied that Bruce Wayne was still in his prime and, you know, young. And overall, I can't say that I loved Ian Glenn's interpretation of Bruce Wayne. On paper, I think he's quite good, although I will say he's a bit too nice to other characters, but I really think Ian Glenn was miscast in this role. Aside from this one moment here, he doesn't ever really do anything that makes me go, oh, yep, that's Batman. What's kind of funny is that most people said that he should have played Alfred, and I think that just makes so much more sense. But what's even funnier is that there's a scene where Dick's hallucinating Bruce Wayne, and that version of Bruce Wayne does an Alfred impression, like... What even is this show? Like, honestly, this show is just so bizarre. Now, let's not drag this out any longer. Let's talk about Dick Grayson. Finally, he's no longer edgy, moody, violent Dick Grayson. He acts like comic book Dick Grayson, and I'm just so happy. The writers finally have just written him consistently like comic book Dick Grayson, so yes, I think it's official now, and I don't feel bad in saying this. Brenton Thwaites is the best version of Dick Grayson in live action. I know that's not saying much, but I genuinely do love his performance as Dick Grayson. He's just spot on. I mean, look at him. He's just so handsome and cool. Like, yes, that's Dick Grayson right there. But with all that being said, boy oh boy, does it take Dick Grayson forever to do anything in season 2. Again, his whole arc for this season is to get into the place where he finally dons the Nightwing suit. So he reforms the Titans, which then causes Deathstroke to come out of exile. Dick then tells the team that he was responsible for the death of Jericho, which then results in the Titans breaking up and abandoning him, and then Dick decides to get himself arrested in order to atone for the sins that he's made. He then meets inmates inside the prison who then tell him about this legend of a bird who comes in the night and saves people, which is kind of a nice homage to the tale that Superman tells Dick Grayson about Nightwing in the comics. And then he helps these inmates escape. He then battles his inner demons in solitary confinement. He then realizes that Jericho is inside Deathstroke. He breaks out of jail and finally becomes Nightwing. And I won't lie, as long-winded and drawn out as it was for Dick Grayson to finally complete his character arc and become Nightwing, when he finally dons on the Nightwing suit, I couldn't help but just scream with glee. I mean, look at it. It's so perfect. It's just straight up Nightwing. We are genuinely unworthy of this suit. This is probably one of the top 5 best suits ever translated from comics to live action. It's just so good. It's so good that even the director of that episode kept doing these dramatic reveals of going, oh hey look, it's Nightwing in the suit. Oh hey look, it's Nightwing in the suit. Oh hey look, it's Nightwing in the suit. Now, speaking of the suit, as fantastic as it is, and as great as it looks, and as much as I love it, my biggest issue is how Dick gets the suit. I don't like it. Him going to Stu and having Stu yelling at him for burning the Robin suit was great, but what I don't like is how Bruce Wayne essentially made Dick the Nightwing suit, because that just goes against the whole core of Nightwing. The whole concept and core of Nightwing is about stepping out of the shadow of Batman and becoming your own hero, not having Batman literally make you a new suit. If Dick had gone to Stu and used Bruce's resources to design the suit himself, I would have been fine with it, but that's just not what happened. I also think it would have been cooler if we had seen Dick design the suit, only for Deathstroke to then attack the Titans, which then forces him to go out in an unfinished Nightwing suit. I mean, it would certainly explain why his suit doesn't have Eskrima stick holders. Like, seriously, where do his Eskrima sticks come from? But yeah, the season ends with Dick becoming Nightwing, Rose kills Deathstroke, Donna Troy gets electrocuted, Raven decides to go to Themyscira and try to resurrect Donna or something. Dick gives a speech about family because I guess the whole season was about family, even though it really wasn't, but whatever. And then the Titans then walk at the camera like it's the ending to a Joel Schumacher Batman film. Oh boy. Oh, this show. This show. I honestly just can't articulate the way I feel about this show. I mean, as the title says, it's a paradox. There is just so much it gets wrong, but then there's also just so much it gets right. It's incredibly infuriating. I just hope that with season 3, the writers just simplify everything. Focus on developing the side characters. Please. For season 3, the writers just need to simplify everything. Stop adding characters in and just focus on the team. Develop all the other side characters other than Dick Grayson. Obviously develop Dick because he's like the best character in the show, but like develop the other characters too and give them something else to do. And no more breaking up the Titans, okay? Let them actually be and function as a team. Like, this show has had 2 seasons now, and the only character that I can definitively say has the strongest and best development is Dick Grayson. Honestly, at times, it just feels like they're just making a Nightwing show, and as much as I would love that, that's not what this show is. It's a Titan show. So please just develop the other Titans. I love Dick Grayson, don't get me wrong. Best Robin. One of the best characters in DC. I love him, but just, please, focus on the other Titans. Although I'm pretty sure what I'm just spouting off right now is just wishful thinking, because I've heard that they're going to introduce characters like Barbara Gordon's Oracle and Roy Harper as Red Arrow, so yeah, thanks for not listening, DC. But do you know what? Forget it. I don't care. I'm still going to watch season 3 because I love to torture myself. Like, why do I watch this show? I don't know. But yeah, that is what I think of DC's Titans. It's an incredibly frustrating yet satisfactory show that just infuriates me and is the biggest paradox I've ever seen in my entire life. But let me know what you guys think of Titans in the comments down below. Like and subscribe and all the good stuff. Hit the notification bell down there. My social media links are also down in the description, so if you give them a look and a follow, that'd be very nice. I have a second channel where I make short films, so if you give those a look, that'd be very much appreciated. And until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time. And remember,
Fuck Batman.